Ocarina of Time featured a good variety of all sorts of bosses with their individual bells and whistles. However, as speedrunning evolved, a lot of interesting strategies came up to deal with those bosses. A lot of those are even intended by the developers that not a whole lot of people actually knew about. So, we are here to show you some of the strategies and some tricks that you might have missed out during your playthrough.
For Goma, there isn't a whole lot we can do. In runs, we either face this boss as adult Link or child Link, but the strategies are the same. We enter the room with a jump slash in order to store that damage, so that we can deal it to our enemy every time we crouch stab. This can either be done as adult Link with the Master Sword or as Link with the Deku Stick, as those deal the same amount of damage. After Goma introduces herself, we stun her with a Deku Nut, crouch stab once, follow up with another Deku Nut to keep her stun locked, and then finish with another 2 crouch stabs. If we somehow mess up, we can either stun Goma on the ceiling with the Fairy Slingshot or the Hook Shot. And if we don't do that, we can just break her eggs by holding our shield up and walking into them. All of these lead to a fairly quick death of Goma, and we can proceed.
King Dodongo also doesn't have a whole lot of strats either, but we can speed up the fight a little bit. First of all, we can enter the boss room by performing a trick called Ocarina items on the Switch, which delays the unlock mechanism of the door and allows us to enter it without having to push the block at all. This, however, only works as adult Link. As child Link, we can die on the Switch, which will cause the game to trigger the flag for the block being pushed. At least it's a little faster and not so tedious compared to doing the puzzle normally. After entering the boss room, we have to blow up the ground using explosives. However, we can also use the hammer as adult Link on a specific spot in order to break it. This way, we can at least save a bomb. Using the same mechanic as before, we can store a jump slash and deal double damage to King Dodongo every time we stunned him. This leads to an easy victory at this fight as well.
When it comes to Baronade, things start to become a little different. First of all, we can skip the blue switch that Ruto is needed for by just rolling and opening the door at the right frame. In the next room, we can either use a bomb chew or a precise boomerang throw in order to trigger the ceiling switch without climbing up the wall. Another strat we can use is a ground clip as adult Link, which lets us completely skip triggering the ceiling switch. As for Baronade itself, we start the fight as usual with the boomerang. After this, we stun Baronade as the berries fly out and kill them with a Deku Nut. Same procedure again, and then we just stun Baronade and perform a jump slash with either a stick, a crouch stab with a stored stick jump slash, or the Master Sword to deal damage. Rolling into him also prevents this boss from staying in the ground for longer than necessary. And in no time, it's defeated.
This fight has a couple of twists to it, while also being fairly easy. First of all, this fight can be either done with a hookshot or the bow, which allows for the fight to be done before obtaining the bow at all. Also, during the first phase, there are 2 ways of telling which Phantom Ganon is the right one. The real Phantom Ganon has a lighter armor and is the only one that actually makes sound while still being in the picture. So if you use stereo headphones while playing, you have a clear advantage here. For the second phase, we store a jump slash again and perform a trick called Infinite Sword Glitch, which keeps our sword damage active every frame. Not only can we deal damage to Phantom Ganon while he is down easily, it is also impossible to fail hitting the light sphere back to Phantom Ganon himself. As he is down, we can either use the hookshot or the bow to keep him in stun lock and finish him off after just hitting him once in his second phase.
This fight has a few tricks we can use. First of all, we can damage Volvagia before even starting the fight. We only have to perform a weird shot, which is a rather complicated trick that forces the camera to go below the ground along with a first-person item. As soon as we've done this, we can just shoot Volvagia with a bow as often as we like. The only downside here is that we still can't defeat it. The HP counter just won't drop below 0 unless the hammer was used to stun it. If we don't want to use this strat, we can use another Azu strategy to damage Volvagia quite fast. As it has 2 models of itself loaded into the room that both share the same health, we can damage Volvagia at what seems like an arbitrary spot at first. The first one is always the one that we see on screen as it pops out of a hole. The other one is always under the ground and waiting until it can start to fly. So if we just use bombs and drop it into the hole Volvagia last flew in, we can easily damage him. And as this boss is always meant to soar into the sky after a direct hit, this also means that hitting Volvagia number 2 is not seen as an actual hit, ultimately preventing him from flying.
We can technically do the same strategy with Morpha as we did with Volvagia, but only technically. The Morpha model is loaded behind the boss door before we trigger the actual boss fight. If we do a weird shot, we can actually hit Morpha before it even introduced itself, and it will start roaming in the room. However, it is now in some sort of hybrid state between in-fight and not in-fight. Thus, it will only roam and never use its tentacle to attack. But not only that, it is also unhookshotable as its hitbox isn't activated yet, so we are locked inside a room with an undefeatable Morpha. So the only way to defeat Morpha quick is to start the fight the normal way, then hookshot it out of its tentacle, bring it into the corner of the room and stab it there multiple times until it dies.
Now when it comes to the Bongo Bongo fight, there are a few minor varieties. First of all, in the older version of Ocarina of Time, such as the 1.0 version, we can drop a bomb down to Bongo Bongo before starting the fight. Doing so will make the bomb hit the 000 position, which is exactly where all the characters, such as Bongo Bongo himself, are stored. This allows us to start the fight and skip the cutscene of the boss introducing himself. However, this comes with a negative side effect. As the cutscene introducing this boss never started, he's completely invulnerable and invincible unless he is stunned. So our only chance is to stun him using the bomb, then jump down and finish him off right away. If we don't manage to do so, we have to re-enter the temple as this boss is now undefeatable. But there are some other strategies as well. For example, you can freeze his hands with ice arrows, which will keep him busy getting rid of it all for some time. The fastest way to deal with him is to start the fight. Then hold shield and down, as Bongo himself only takes the control stick input as to where he should go. From there we get the infinite sword glitch, stun Bongo and deal an insane amount of damage to him, killing him in seconds.
This fight doesn't have any special tricks to it. The fastest way to deal with it is to look for a corner from where you can see Koume and Kotake. As one of them charges, you pull out the hookshot and keep shooting, which will make the other one try to dodge it. Doing so keeps the remaining one in place and makes her an easy target for the reflected beam. The second phase is fairly easy if done right. Twinrova will now shoot us with either ice or fire magic, which we can charge up using the mirror shield. However, the first 3 attacks will always be of the same type, so she will either go for fire or ice 3 times in a row before starting to switch up. When we first hit her, we can jump onto her platform and hit her with a jump slash on her way there, which is now stored in a crouch stab. From here we have to just keep on crouch stabbing and Twinrova will go down fairly quickly. Thank you for watching our little video on the boss strategies. We hope you liked it because the series has a few more bosses than just the ones in Ocarina of Time.